Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com, where we stream solutions. I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, here as always with the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
How you feeling today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm loving it.
How's your temperature? Are you sufficiently cool today, or warm, or whatever you need?
Actually, it's a perfect temperature. I thought it was a little warm for you, actually.
It was.
I feel good.
But I turned the AC on. So
oh, okay.
Unless somebody turn it off, I should be good to go.
Maybe it'll kick in any second. Huh?
Yeah, man.
I'll be freezing any minute now.
A quick programming note: as far as live shows, we only got one more for the rest of the month because we'll both be out of town, and we won't be back until I think the second week of July. So I'm going to put that. It's a great time, however, to catch up on older shows. If you go to YouTube/Dharma Time, or if you go to iTunes or something like that, you can look up the older ones and catch up on some that you haven't seen or heard. While him and I are frolicking around in
frolicking. Wait,
in beach air. I guess you're going to be in California, right?
What's frolicking? What is that? What is the real definition of frolicking? Because I picture skipping.
Sure, it sounds like the right thing to say. But you'll be in
not
California,
skipping anywhere,
and I'll be in Bradenton Beach. So we will both be vacationing to a beach.
I'm going back to Cali,
even though we kind of live at beach.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous actually that you're going to California. Now that I've been there, I got to say I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we got a doozy today.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's such a doozy that I'm going to go ahead and get the sponsors and stuff out of the way now, so we don't have to interrupt later. Because
right, go for it.
I have no clue where this is all about to go. So for the sponsors, we got to go ahead and give a shout out to we got Retreat Behavioral Health. You're meeting with them tomorrow.
Yeah, going down to West Palm tomorrow.
Man. I'm gonna hold out hope that I can go, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Then we have Journey Pure. Journey Pure is still doing great things out there. And we have the Orange County Drug Free Coalition, which we were both just speaking at, I think it was last week. Nice. Which you did a good job, even though you ruffled some feathers, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Eileen had to get up and correct you on a couple stuff.
She didn't correct me. I said it right. She just, her boss was in the room.
Yeah, she was very...
she was worried about the opinions and views of Louis Delgado, or those of Louis Delgado and Louis Delgado alone, and I said that at the beginning. So these are our opinions.
We got, of course, the Now Matters More Foundation, of which he is the founder. I'm the president. We help individuals navigate the drug-free world, as well as scholarship treatment and advocacy. You can see more about what we do at nowmattersmore.org.
That's right.
Or you can reach out at 833-NOW-MATTERS.
That's right.
And then last but not least, we have Sports Subaru South on OBT.
Yes.
And their event is coming. It's the Share the Love event, and it starts November 15th, and it goes through December 31st. And during that event, and now they're their sponsors now, obviously, but they have a special event coming up in November. And during that event, any car that they sell, any Subaru that they sell, they'll donate $250 to the Now Matters More Foundation.
That's right.
So very, very happy to have them on board. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. So, all right, let's get into this
conversation,
this discussion that we were having. So as usual, we were waiting last minute, trying to figure out what we're going to talk about on one of our shows.
Hopefully, we don't regret it this time.
Nah, we won't regret it.
Nah,
we'll do what we do.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we were kind of just trying to figure out what to talk about today, and we were talking about what's in the news and just different things that are important to people at the moment. And we had a couple ideas, a couple options, but I think the one that we settled on, as you can tell by anybody who's watching this live or saw us on Facebook, by the title, you could probably tell what we're going to talk about today. And it's a subject, or it's a topic that is hotly debated right now, no matter where you're at, which I think is very interesting to me, only because I remember this being a very hotly debated thing back even in the 90s when I was in like high school and stuff. Like, so
it's always been an issue.
Yeah, it's over 20 years later, and we're still like highly heated in debating this.
It charges people up, man.
Yeah,
big
man.
time.
It's a very intense discussion and debate. You know. So I just think that's interesting because that's really the only thing other than other topics, if you will, in a broader sense, have been important. Like religion and politics have always been kind of hot button issues.
Right.
But today's topic on abortion essentially is really the only single idea or topic that has been so hotly debated since I was a kid.
Well, I think because it was so archaic one way, and then almost too undefined another way. And so now I think we finally evolved to the point where we can have a legitimate discussion about it,
right?
And really please both sides. I think there's a resolve here.
I believe
that can please everyone.
I mean, I really do. Yeah, I always think that there's a solution somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The main thing is, can everybody can
they listen?
Yeah, can they listen? Can they stay calm enough and have enough compassion to facilitate that solution?
Yeah. I think they need to watch Dharma Time.
Yeah, well, hopefully they are.
If these politicians watch Dharma Time, and these people that are on the polls, poll left or poll right. I think they can come up. We can come up with a good understanding.
Let's hope, right? I mean, that's what
that's what we're doing this for.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing is, I want to make sure I put that out there. We're not doing this for a headline grab.
No.
Right?
Or to sway left or right.
Yeah, I think we legitimately care about this, and we see a lot of pain associated with it, and we want to try to come up with, some calm in the storm kind of an idea.
Yeah, because I think I don't think there's a person out there that hasn't dealt with this issue one way or another, whether it be a loved one, a friend, or themselves.
Yeah. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and jump in, I guess, man. I'm not even sure where to start.
So we're talking abortion.
Yeah, we're talking about abortion.
Okay.
And as the title shows...
First, explain the title.
Yeah,
I think that's where you should start.
The title is Anti-Abortion, Pro-Choice, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to speak for myself here.
Okay.
That's kind of where I stand on the issue, I guess. If I had to give it in a layman's terms, obviously it's much more complicated than that, which we're going to get into.
Right.
But the reason why I like the title is because I feel very anti-abortion, but I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
I think that it's a very sensitive subject, and it's a big deal, right? And I think that my own spiritual beliefs kind of guide me on how I feel about the subject, and so my spiritual beliefs, think that killing any sentient being is against the first precept.
Any what being?
Sentient being, which is
what's that?
Beings to be able to think. So that's just the verbiage that they use.
Sentient?
Yeah, sentient.
Oh, sentient.
But anyways. But there are circumstances, right? Like, in other words, it's not a cut and dry black and white issue. There's circumstances, and I think that they have to be taken as a case by case basis.
All right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at, and my spirituality guides me that way. But we were reading something that kind of prompted a lot of this, and the thing we read was somebody asked a question of, hey, somebody I know is coming to me for advice,
right?
And as a Buddhist, I don't know how to answer them. Is basically with the question that we read.
Right. Which, by the way, if you have a question about something in particular, I'll do this for you, Trinity.
All right.
If you have a question of anything and you want us to answer here on Dharma Time, then please ask it. Email us. Where would they email us, Trinity, so that
I believe it's dharmatimeshow@gmail.com.
There you go.
That's probably the best way.
So now this was a question that was asked, and what was the question again?
The question, I don't know the exact verbiage, but it was basically, somebody I know is contemplating abortion,
right?
And they're asking me my opinion and my advice, and I'm a practicing Buddhist, but I don't know how to answer the question.
Right.
And so they got 3 different opinions from 3 different, I guess, Buddhist philosophers or Buddhist practitioners.
Right.
And they were all, similar, not the same, but they kind of had
they all touched on some of the same things.
Yeah. And the thing I liked most about it, though, was it kept there was a common theme throughout, and it was basically listen, non-judgmental, and compassionate. Okay. Those were like the common themes,
right?
And I think that's kind of missing right now in this debate. I think that and
you don't think anyone's listening, Trinity?
No, I think they're listening to themselves. I don't think they're listening to others, and somehow I don't know how, and we mentioned this literally right before pressing start on all this stuff. Somehow the debate has turned into like a woman's rights issue, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that's dangerous, because I think that is the definition of not listening, right? Like,
didn't it start as a woman's rights? It started as that.
What do you mean, the Roe versus Wade?
Yeah. Didn't it start as a woman's rights issue? Isn't that how it got its birth? Because
I think I want to say yes.
Women were coming into their own in that.
I want to say yes. That's how it started.
Yeah.
But through listening,
yeah.
What I've heard, the most advocacy that I hear these days that are anti-abortion, essentially, what I hear them saying isn't about a woman's rights. It's more about the fetus's rights. It's more about, hey, this baby has a right to live, kind of a thing. Like, who's stepping up for this?
Right.
It's not about the woman's right to choose. It's about the baby's right to live, essentially.
And our new understanding of science, our advances in science and visual imaging, I mean, oh man, the sonograms and our so we know so much more now. So I think that's what brought this back up to a hot topic, right? You think?
I don't know what brought it back up.
I think it helps.
I don't think it ever went away.
Well, no, it never went away. But I think it helps that we know so much more about the entire process.
Right.
We understand much more of what happens inside the woman as the baby is developing. And these images that everybody's posting on Facebook, and now we get these visual images that they're like 3D.
Some of them are very polarized, though. I mean, some of them are just wrong too. By the way, like I've seen
the 3D images.
No. But I've seen other images that people are using, like that, and that's the thing is they're so adamant in their approach, they kind of go to unnecessary means.
No, I get you. I'm just saying that the visual images are a lot better. Like even than when we
The
had
real
kids.
visual,
I don't know.
yes.
Did you get a 3D image like the auburn the one with the auburn color or whatever that color is?
Yeah, I think I was getting that right when it was kind of like getting popular.
Right.
We actually got a free.
That's cool.
Whatever, like a free session or something. They were at an expo, and they needed somebody to come and be a model, and they gave us the free thing afterwards. So we signed up to become the model, and for me, we're getting a little sidetracked here, I guess, but I guess it gives us context.
Well, not really, because
it gives us context.
That's where some of the.
So for me, when I found out my girlfriend at the time was pregnant,
right.
I didn't know what to say. Like I didn't know how to feel at first because I've had a pregnancy. I don't want to say scare. At the time, it was a scary proposition. I had a pregnancy situation early on. Full disclosure, this topic is very close to me. Actually, there was a situation early on. I was like 19 or something, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were young, stupid, kind of no future for us. We weren't fighting and stuff, but there was just it was young love. It was never going to last.
Right.
And we found out we thought we were pregnant. And we looked into all of our options, and I believe that we were going to go the abortion route because none of one was ready. Okay. We were on birth control, things of that nature. It wasn't one of those things where we're like, who cares? We'll
Sneaky little swimmer, wasn't he?
Yeah. Apparently, I've got some powerful ones. Yeah. But anyways, it wasn't able to happen. Thankfully we were relieved of our decision because it ended up being a topical pregnancy and it never came to term anyways.
Okay.
So thankfully, I never really had to make any of those hard decisions. Right. But I definitely was confronted right in front of my face with this decision.
Right.
Having said that, back to what we were originally talking about. So when I found out we were pregnant, part of me was scared shitless. I'm not going to lie. I was terrified because I never really wanted kids and the idea of having one. For myself, I'm a very logical thinker. So I immediately went into, can we afford this? What's this going to mean? Like everybody I've ever talked to thought about having kids was like the end of your life kind of a deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, dude. They're like, everybody, your life completely. And they're right. But having said that.
They're right.
Well, let me define that.
Yeah.
They're right that your life ends and everything changes. But a new one begins. Like the life that you were living before is done. You're right. But the difference is your priorities change. Like so, the stuff that I was doing before, I have no desire to do now. Like I'm filled with a different desire. Right. So the me that was doing all those things did die off, and the Father is born. And that's what they neglect to tell you, right? They neglect to tell you that it changes, but for the better. For some people, I guess. Right. But anyways. So, my first one, when I got to listen to the heartbeat, I didn't really care. I'm gonna be honest with you, it didn't affect me. When we saw the sonogram, dude, it was like I felt like I was looking at an abstract film, and they were trying to point out
which one, the black and white one?
Yeah,
or
the black and white
one.
The black and white sonogram didn't mean anything to me. I was just like, this. You could tell me that's an eggplant, and I believe you. Like I have no clue.
It's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah, exactly. But when we did go to the convention.
Lamp.
When we went to the convention and we were used as models, and they did the 4D, I think they called it.
Yeah. Oh, is it 40? I thought it was 3D. Okay.
I think they call it 4D, but
okay.
That's when it hit me because I can see a face. Like
it's incredible.
And I was like, whoa. Like so from that point forward, everything took on a whole new meaning for me. Going to the because I went to every doctor's appointment. I went to everything. She was high risk at the time. Right. So there was at one point it was like a appointment a week. It was ridiculous. So I went to all of them. And I got very invested in the process.
So it made it real. But that's my point. I think that a lot of people may have thought a certain type of way based on how they felt in the 70s or early 80s.
Right.
But this new imagery that we get.
Yeah, man. It changes a lot.
And people taking some of what's written in today's law to the extreme, I think causes some people to go, wait, maybe we ought to rethink this.
Right.
I think that's what causes some of the new conversation.
I think both extremes are dangerous at this point, though.
I think both. I think any extremes.
Obviously.
You and I are both in the same.
Obviously, balance is what we call that.
Yeah. We both of us like balance. But so take this. Well, let me ask you a question, Trini. So the person asking the question clearly is asking it for someone else that's currently dealing with the situation, and there's a lot of conversation of law and a lot of conversation of men shouldn't make this decision and stuff like that. So let's start from that. Does your philosophy, does the what you believe in and the teachings that you provide define the fetus as a life? First of all, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is when it was, the Polycanon, which is, I don't know how many, 3,000 years old now, I think, at this point. They didn't have like abortions back then. It wasn't called that, really. Right. So it doesn't specifically address that.
Yeah, but I don't think any religion did, right?
But it addresses in a sense of, sentient being, meaning assuming no intervention takes place, this is going to be a life at some point.
Right.
So in that sense, yes, it's a life. It's going to come. It might not be it depends on how you define life personally, but at some point, it's going to become what we all know to be a person, essentially.
So nobody's calling it a non-life.
Correct.
Okay.
So, but the question that was posed was, as with everything, all major religions, faiths, philosophies, whatever they have, they all have some sort of take on killing. They have a perspective on it.
Right.
Most of them don't do it.
Right. Which is where the religions that have an opinion on this issue, or they're basing. I mean, it's not like Jesus said, "Thou shalt not have an abortion."
Correct.
It was "Thou shalt not kill" kind of deal, right?
Well, I think that's where the debate comes into play. Is when do you, when do you call it a life, essentially, and how you define life? I think is the other one. Right. Because some people would say it's not a life until it's birthed. I guess, where others say no, when it's conceived, that process has begun, so it is technically life.
And those are individual opinions.
Exactly.
Right.
So
that's where we argue, man.
Right? That is where we argue. I think that is the crux of the debate right there. Is when does life begin, and that's where the debate is. But I don't think that's where the debate should be.
All right. Where do you think people aren't listening to the other side? Just take it side by side. Where do you think the right is not listening to the left on this issue?
The right being
the people that say absolutely not, should never be done. I'm going to take it to extremes, by the way. I'm going to go extremes. The extreme right, not the right. The extreme right.
Yeah.
Where do you think they're not listening to the left?
So the people are saying absolutely never should never happen.
Yeah. Where do you think they're not listening?
I think they're not listening to the suffering that comes with the whole process, right? Like the suffering of yourself, the suffering of the child, the environment that they could potentially be in. Being in, what it's like to be the unwanted child in a situation, or to be in a really bad spot, or if it's a case of rape or incest, the emotional toll that it takes on that person, and the potential of the daily reminders of the suffering and the pain that you went through, like the turmoil. I don't know. I've never personally heard of anybody that woke up and was like, ooh, I get to go get an abortion today. Like, I don't think, and so I think that the right doesn't understand that it's a difficult decision even for that person. Right. I think they're not listening to all the potential devastating circumstances, I guess.
You think that some of them are calling it an incorrect, I mean, some of them are saying that it's, it appears to be a form of birth control.
Yeah, are there outliers? I'm sure there's probably some person out there that's done that, but I don't think that's the average individual. I don't think that's the approach that's taken.
Right.
I think they cherry pick one or two people they might have heard stories about.
That's an extreme sense of birth control.
Yeah, I think there's easier ways.
That were true.
Yeah, I mean,
can you imagine someone that, hey, I'll just go to a clinic and get sucked out?
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Right.
And that's the thing, is I don't believe they're not listening to reason. I guess it's unreasonable to think that that's the approach that all these people have.
Right. So what do you think the left, the extreme left, of saying you should never? I mean, you should always have it as an option. It should always be available. What do you think the extreme left is not listening to the right?
They're not listening to the true, real value that is being placed on a life, like a human being. Like they're not. I don't think they're appreciating fully the rights and the livelihood, or the I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but essentially the rights of that that unborn life yet.
Right.
Like
they're refusing it to call it life or a baby.
And that's what I'm saying. They're refusing to acknowledge the fact that this process has begun.
Right.
No matter where at in the process. Like if I take a tree, or I plant a seed that's eventually going to become an oak tree,
right.
assuming I water and take care of it,
right.
it's a tree. It's basically a baby little tree. It's going to be one day
right.
if everything happens as intended.
Right.
No tree started out as a tree. It started as a seedling. And so as a human being, none of us started out as a full-grown adult sitting here with beards and everything else. I mean, we started out as first... Well, I'm not going to go where we first started, but we all know.
Oh, I was a swimmer, man. I was in Vietnam.
We were all #1 swimmers, bro.
Yeah.
So I think that portion, they're not appreciating the magnitude of that.
Right.
I think that sometimes, not always, or at least the viewpoint is that they're getting so stuck in their own personal circumstances and
right.
their own personal pain
right.
that they're forgetting that there's another life here that you're also impacting. Because I don't know if anybody, would say, hey, I'm having a hard time financially right now. I'm going to go kill my neighbor. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody would say that.
Right.
But in a sense, that's what it comes off to the other people who are against it.
Right.
When you're saying, hey, financially and emotionally, I'm struggling. This isn't a good place. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this kid.
Right.
Like that's what they hear. That's what they interpret. And I don't think that the left is appreciating that much. They're so focused on their own circumstances. They're not appreciating, hey, what are you really saying here? Right?
They're making it a woman issue.
They are.
They're refusing to look at the baby at all.
Yeah, they're saying it's a woman's right to choose.
Right.
But to choose what?
Right.
To choose to end somebody else's life?
Yeah, some would say, Trinity, some would say that because we're men, we shouldn't even be talking about this issue or have no say-so on this.
And with that one, I appreciate the stance that they're coming from. I really, truly do.
Right.
Even though we're sitting here having a debate right now as two men.
Right.
But I don't think that's... I don't think that because I'm not a female, I can intelligently and compassionately discuss a situation.
Right.
Matter of fact, I mean, I work in the world of addiction. I've never been addicted.
Right.
And many of them can call you right now and tell you I've been a value to their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so much in the same way, even though I'm not a female and you're not a female, I do believe that there is room for us to have an opinion.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it does affect. Like I would have been impacted had my ex decided to abort my 2 lovely children at the moment.
Right.
And as a father and as a loving father, I kind of take offense to that in some sense, in the fact that we're not allowed to have a say-so in this situation.
Right.
Because some could argue that the decision, your choice was made the second you laid down to decide to have intercourse with somebody without protection or whatever. That you did make the decide. There's natural consequences that come to all of our actions.
All of them.
Sometimes you quote unquote dodge a bullet, you're fine. Other times, you got caught this time. You got a baby coming.
Right.
But once that takes place, I think we're both equally responsible. Now, granted, my father and many others don't have a history of staying around.
Right.
But to me, I don't think that we should govern or proceed as if that's the accepted norm. Right? Like. It happens for sure more often than we would like to appreciate. But to me, I am a father and I love my children. And I would have been pretty freaking upset had my ex decide to go ahead and abort them for whatever personal reasons.
Right.
Like, those are my kids, man. I can't imagine looking at my soon-to-be 10-year-old, my 8-year-old, or even my other 2 who are much older than that, thinking that they wouldn't be. Like, dude, the best thing that's ever happened to me is having my kids, man. Right. And so the idea that could have been taken away from me without having to say so, I think that's kind of BS,
I couldn't imagine, Trinity, I got to be honest with you. I've never been in this situation that I know of. Nobody's ever brought it to my attention. But I couldn't imagine knowing that someone was carrying my baby and I had no choice in the matter. I really couldn't. I'm really glad that's never happened. Yeah. So I can only take it to today. Like, let's say Dana would get pregnant and we're married, 26 years this month.
Right.
I couldn't imagine Dana being pregnant right now and saying, you know what, you have no choice in this matter. This is all my decision.
Yeah, well, because you're not a woman, you don't have a choice.
I could, yeah.
With my body, you don't
have
a choice.
I would really struggle with that, Trinity. I got to be honest with you, as a man, and I feel like I'm a very evolved man. I'm an emotionally available man. I feel like I'm a mature man. I have 2 daughters. I care about women. I care about women's rights. I care about women's issues because of my daughters and what I've learned by having daughters. Right. I think I became a different man because of I've had daughters. We've talked about this on this show and other shows. However, I would struggle with someone telling me just because I'm a man I don't have a say so. I don't like that.
And not to pile on, more hyperbole or vitriol that's out in the world at the moment.
Right.
But while I know in some circles the in thing to do right now is to trash men,
right,
we can't get twisted in the fact of it takes a man and a woman to make a baby still.
And there's good ones out there.
And there's good ones. Not to, I really am not trying to sound controversial here, but just from a factual sense, if it wasn't for quote unquote woke men back in whatever, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, a lot of the women wouldn't have the rights that they do today.
Right.
Like, let's not get it twisted. There was a time where they didn't have any rights.
Right.
And if all of the men believed in that, they would never have gotten them in the first place.
Right.
So there had to have been men who were like, no, wait a minute, this isn't right. Back in the suffrage movement, things like that. Right. There were men who were joining that cause as well.
Right.
And so, I do believe that we play a role in this. I don't think that they're going to be able to fix this or come to a reasonable solution on their own.
Right.
We're all going to have to come to a solution. So in that sense, yes, I think we absolutely have a right to have an opinion. Do I think that we can do it to the exclusion of the woman? No, absolutely not.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it is her body as well. She's the one who's going to have to carry it to term and deal with all the medical things that come with it. And it doesn't just change your body, but it changes your routines. You can't eat things. You can't drink things. You can't work for an extended period of time.
Right.
Like, there's a whole lot that impacts them that does not impact us.
And we got to admit, I mean, medical opinion. I know people say, well, the physician should be involved, and I agree. But medical opinion can be bought and sold now. We've seen that proven in in the pain management world.
Yeah,
we've seen that happen in the addiction world. We've seen it happen where, unfortunately, there are people with higher level degrees and higher learning that have been manipulated by money to make certain claims or decisions. Lab industry, like I said, pain industry, and so just because a physician says that there's a problem here, just to sign off on a document so that you can have it. I mean, some of you have to understand why that's still an issue for some of us, because we do know that there will always be a physician that will say, "Yep, you were in danger. Yep, you were going to die."
I think
you know what? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to complete the point, because this is where I'm coming from. My full disclosure is that my mother was told either she or I was going to die. That it was a very difficult pregnancy. I was premature.
So you were difficult even when you weren't born.
I was difficult even before birth. That's right. I was ready to come out. I was already shouting loud and proud. And so, but back then women had no choice, and it was never even an option. Not only that, my mom had no choice of medication. My mom had no choice of nothing, and my father was asked to leave and go home, because even at that point, the man was not even permitted to be there. So my mother went through this all by herself. But I'm thinking about, in today's world, in today's situation, it's very likely that a person could be having a child just like me, difficult like me, with the problems that I was having internally inside my mother, and that birth could have been terminated.
Well,
even though I was able to live that premature. Now, I lived in an incubator that first month.
Skylar.
Yeah, I lived in an incubator that first month, not touched by my parents, not held by my parents or nurtured. Somebody's analyzing this right now and says, "Oh, that's what it was."
Yeah, that's where.
But that. Somebody could have made the decision not to have me.
Yeah.
And so I think very differently on this issue.
My current wife's children,
that
same
physician
scenario.
He was giving the risks, but had that be a different physician with today's choices, could have said, "You know what? I don't think you should have this baby."
Well, I think that to me is the crux of what we.
And I might be an outlier because I've always been an outlier, so I get that.
Well, to me, that is the point that I would like for us to kind of make today, I guess. If I was to put my my hope, I guess, for anybody who's listening or watching this, is I don't think anybody should have an opinion for somebody else's. I think the doctor's only role in that situation is to lay out the facts.
That's it.
These are the facts. Right. This is what it is. This is what it could be. This is the percentage chance that we've seen from our research. You make the decision, and I'm going to not judge you either decision you make, because at the end of the day, it's your decision. And, you and your spouse or whomever it is that you're making this decision with. And I do believe if the father is a part of the picture, they should be a part of the decision. I personally, but that should be between the two of them. The end decision, the person who's going to vocalize it should be the mom, obviously, because it's in her belly.
Well, the one that's going to have the procedure.
Exactly. I think
has to sign off on it.
Exactly.
You can't strap her down and
I don't think
do the procedure.
You're going to do it regardless. So But I think that is the thing, and that was what the question was, and I think that's essentially what the answer that I read that I agreed with was, if somebody were to come to me and ask me advice to get one or not get one, I wouldn't give it to them. I would just, I would listen to them and try to understand their circumstance. I would make them feel safe and make them feel non-judged. And I would help them understand both sides of where they're at. And at the end of the day, let them know that it's, you got to, and that's why I said I'm anti-abortion, pro-choice. I personally, for me, don't necessarily think it's the best idea. Having said that, I'm not going to ridicule or judge somebody for the decisions that they make. And that goes for anything, not just this, but obviously this is what the show's about.
Right. You know where I can't help take it to as well, Trinity, on this, is... there's when I remember being younger and being in school, and it was the Save the Whales time back in the 80s, right? It was all save the whales, save the whales, save the whales.
Actually.
Yeah, but it evolved from that.
Sure.
And so now that I live in Florida, it means a little bit more than it did when I was in the desert where I never saw a whale. Right. It means more to me because here in Florida, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the beach in Florida, but if anybody's ever visited the beach in Florida, when the turtles have laid their eggs, they put this thing around the eggs and it's all protected and there's this a whole group. And they're serious about it. You can't do flashlights, you can't have lights, because if these hatch, they have to go to the water or whatever. But the eggs are very protected.
Yeah.
Protected. To the point, like, if I would walk up to these eggs, Trinity, or just the mound, and just start stomping and say, "No, these aren't turtles. These aren't sea turtles. They're eggs."
Somebody's writing a letter right now.
Right? No, I'm just serious. If I would just start stomping on these friggin' sea turtle eggs, people would vilify me. I would be vilified for life. Not that I want to do that, by the way. So don't write me. I don't want to stomp on eggs.
There's an email coming.
Because I look at the egg already in process of a sea turtle, and I want to see the sea turtle. At that point, that turtle did what it did to nurture these eggs, to put them in a safe place so that they can come out. My point is that it seems to be that we give more rights to the eggs of animals or that kind of stuff, like sea turtles, than to human beings. Because we seem to think the sea turtle egg is going to be a sea turtle. The assumption is it's going to be a sea turtle. Even though we know only like one of them is going to make it to the water and live or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
But yet, when we talk about the fetus, it's a fetus. It's not a life yet. And it doesn't have the same rights.
Well, I think it's a convenient way to... that's why I said earlier, it kind of boils down to who in that decision. I don't think I don't want to generalize here, but I think there is a large portion of the individuals who are kind of mulling over this idea more often than not, the parameters from their perspective and how it's going to impact them. I don't think they're thinking long term what that's going to do or not do to this potential child.
Do you really think that people...
I do, man.
I don't think they're thinking about... I disagree. I don't think that people are making this decision based on how it's going to impact them. Here's what I think a lot of people that vote on this issue or have opinions on this issue are not in the baby-making ages.
No, I don't mean the voters.
And or even the people arguing. I think people think that evolution is just that. I think it's that what you first said, that people are making it a women's rights issue. And I think anytime you go against anything that's considered a women's rights issue or a minority rights issue, look, I'm a Mexican. Anything that's against a minority's rights is bad, and it's on the wrong side of history. I wasn't talking about the arguers. I was talking about the people who were making the decision.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The voters, I do believe the voters are stuck in their own kind of their quote-unquote moral high ground. I think one person feels that their moral high ground is life is all precious, and the other moral high ground is you can't tell me what to do with my body. Right. And I don't think it's that simple. I think it's a lot more complicated than that.
I think, and that's why I think there's a conversation. That's why I'm glad you're doing the show today, Trinity, because I really think that there's a negotiation and a conversation here. Because the reason I told the turtle story, or what I think about the sea turtles, is because I'm hoping that people can, regardless of what you believe, let's at least call it life, because it's life. Yeah. Then from that we can have the discussion. But if the left is so far left they're not even calling it life, and the right is so far right that they're not willing to hear and listen to the people that actually have to live with this decision one way or another. By the way, there are people that live with this decision and regret the decision one way or another.
Oh yeah,
on both sides.
Absolutely.
of the deed.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I think what I like is that we're at least talking about it, because let's call it for what it really is. Life and choice both exist here.
Yeah,
right?
and well, the thing is too, things are complicated, man. It's never just black and white.
There's no black and white.
There was a experiment I think I saw one time where people were put into a situation. Obviously, it wasn't real life, but they were asked to kind of give their insight on something.
Right.
And we all kind of say life is precious, things of that nature, for the most part.
Yeah.
And so there was a scenario that was given to the person, and there was railroad tracks, right, and there was a split, and on one side of the railroad tracks where it would split is your grandmother, and on the main track there was 4 or 5 strangers. Okay. And there's a train coming, and they're too far. Yeah. They're too far to say anything to, but you have the ability to move the switch. And
choose one, huh?
You got to choose either the 5 strangers or your nana, and people struggle with that.
Really?
Yeah.
No, mine's easy.
Some people struggle with it because some people were saying, hey, that's my nana. I'm gonna save her.
That's it.
While other people are saying, the greater good. 5 youthful lives are worth more than one old one.
I'm not that evolved.
They were having that debate, right?
Yeah.
And so, in that sense, that's what I'm saying is we all value life, but we can't pretend that there aren't circumstances that make it complicated.
Right.
In that same scenario with the sea turtles, right? Like, I'm gonna give you a crazy scenario just to establish that there are, craziest thing I can think of is the sea turtles are all making their way, and your daughter, whatever, is in a life-threatening situation that you have to go help her now.
Right.
And the thing that stands between you is the sea turtles. You're not going to not go help your daughter because there's some sea turtles there. You're going to run over there.
Am I going to stomp over the sea turtles?
Exactly. You're going to
run. You really want me in trouble with these people, right?
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm stomping on some sea turtles at that point. I'm saving my daughter.
As much as I value sea turtles, if it becomes down to me, letting these 10, 12 sea turtles live, or my daughter dying, there's gonna be some dead sea turtles. I'm running over the top of them to get to my daughter.
Listen, I'm gonna even go further. Trini.
But my point is, my point being is we all say we value life, in which we do, but we all value life differently, and how it impacts us. And so this idea that I value all life, whatever,
it's not true.
Pump your brakes a little bit, because didn't you just vote for the death penalty not too long ago as well?
Right.
Oh, well, that's different. No, it's not. If all life is all valuable, then you should never take
life is life.
Exactly.
Life is life, and if everybody just agreed on that, then we can at least have the conversation.
Exactly. You said you were going to make
I'm going to go even further with that. All right, so you heard me about sea turtles, right? Mm-hmm. So what about a protected animals environment? There's a place near my house where they found a certain kind of turtle.
Right.
I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. But so this company bought this property, and they thought they were going to build like a Publix or whatever, right? They bought the big supermarket, and then they found this animal. This animal that lived on the property, and it scratched the whole deal. Now, just finding the animal, not babies, not birthing, nothing, just existing.
Somebody could just plant it there.
Yeah, right. It's
here. It's here now.
Yeah. So if you ever want to stop a project, you got to go find these animals, right? But just because they found this animal, it became a protected environment, and they scratched the entire. This project, now for the last 20 years, it's been like a blank, large 10-acre area.
Millions of dollars of development.
Yeah. Big 10-acre project never got done. But the point is that there's people out there that value not only life that exists, but the potential of life so great that they want to protect woods, they want to protect land, they want to protect it. But yet when it comes to this issue, they want to remove all of that ideology and just all be about them. Right. It's all about me and my choice and my decision. That's what all of a sudden, instead of for the greater good of humanity, of this possible egret or whatever animal that friggin' is, all of a sudden it becomes a very personal issue. And I think that's when it appears we get very loud and proud all of a sudden when it hits us home.
Yeah.
Very loud and proud all of a sudden.
Well, and the other thing is I will say for me personally, my views on this subject changed drastically once I had my kids.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more.
Prior to my children, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I didn't care. I honestly I didn't care either way. I never even really occurred to me. anytime that debate came up, I was like, I just didn't care at all. I really didn't. It wasn't on my radar. If I was forced to give an opinion, I was very, very pro-choice. I was like, let them do what they want. I don't care.
I cared because of that. I wanted the choice of if one of these,
yeah,
young women.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to say, "You're okay, Louis. Move on."
Yeah.
So trust me, it was very selfish. My decision was very selfish back then.
So, but once I had my children and I'm looking at them every day, like there's no way in hell I could think about doing that. And so, my wife currently, it would have to take an act of like miracle here for that to happen. But if it were, the idea of it would never even occur to me or her for that matter.
Right.
So whereas prior to my children, I was very pro-abortion. Like, I don't do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But so I do believe that once again, personal experience has changed that. And not to say that there's people out there because I do have children and I'm still pro-choice, but I'm anti-abortion. If that makes sense. I think I told you before. I think it was Bill Clinton. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Don't quote me, but it was abortion should be safe, legal, and rare.
Say that slower.
Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare.
I love that.
And I agree with that 100%. Especially the rare part.
I told you I like Bill.
Yeah, right. I think it's him.
Horrible husband, though. Horrible husband. Don't look at him for that. Forget him for that.
So somebody's made a comment here. It says, it's sad, really. I don't believe the majority of people value animals' lives over human life, but the ones that scream the loudest currently are the ones that don't value the human life.
I think both are screaming loud.
Yeah, I think both.
I think both are screaming loud.
I think both polar opposites are screaming louder than the moderate middle.
Yeah.
And then the next question was posed is, where is the moral accountability? And that to me is where the gray area comes in. Is who's defining who has the moral superiority at that point? Whose morals kind of win, I guess. And how do we define whose morals are quote unquote better than the others? Like one person's morals is life matters. The other person's morals are life does matter, so how we treat it should be important kind of thing.
And it should. And Trinity, here's the problem, man. It's just not consistent. I mean, come on. If a woman is pregnant and gets beaten and battered or killed, in the court system, they take that into account that she was pregnant.
Yeah, you can get two
sentences. To not be consistent in your belief system tells you where you're at.
Right.
You fear xenophobia. Is that what it is? That much?
I think xenophobia is fearing immigrants, but
I like immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I just hear so many phobias. Whatever. You fear like men controlling the planet so bad that you feel one way on that issue, but you feel a different way on this issue. I mean, I'm just saying. Or like you said on the death penalty issue. I mean,
yeah,
it's like flip flopping.
Well, and then we also have the addiction one, right? There's people who are dying every day of addiction, but they don't want to lend a hand to help those people. Like, well, you get what you deserve.
So many people don't care.
Stop.
Yeah.
The other problem though is the issue I have with the whole morality case is I don't think morality was meant to be used as a weapon. Like my spirituality, my morality is for me, not for me to hold other people accountable to what I think it should be. Because we all have different, and so I think that's a dangerous area to get into, man. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's how this country started, right? It was religious persecution.
Yeah,
they didn't like the way the religion was making them do, and so they came here to start their own thing.
Right.
And so there are numerous different religions out there in the world, and we live in a country that respects all of those.
Right.
So this idea that I'm going to hold you accountable to what I think is morally right or wrong, I think that's a dangerous thing to get into.
Right.
Because that's always going to depend on who's the majority.
And the laws are not written for morals all the time.
No, they're not. Well, I mean,
sometimes they're written to protect society to move forward.
Of course. So I just think that's a dangerous thing to get into, and at the end of the day, I'm trying to come from a place of love and compassion. Period. For everybody involved.
For everybody.
I'm trying to have love and compassion for the individual who is struggling with this kind of a decision.
Right. I'm
trying to have love and compassion for the person who is going to be judgmental of that decision.
Right.
I'm having love and compassion for the unborn child that's waiting to find out what fate it's going to have. Like, I have love and compassion for all of those individuals involved, and it's not an easy. I think for me, that's not lost on me. How hard and difficult it is for everybody involved.
Everybody.
And how emotional, how impactful that decision really truly is.
Right.
Because it is a decision that's going to last forever, one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, the other day, I heard somebody say something like, if my baby was going to be born with Down syndrome or something like that, I'd want to know. And I'm like, whoa, pump them brakes. You may want to know that. But then if the doctor said, well, we can end this, I think of all the really cool people that have Down syndrome that are born.
Right.
I think of all the people that have some sort of deformity or that are born.
Well, they offer value.
And I think, oh my God, what do they think? I mean, I haven't heard much about them. I haven't heard them publicly speaking as a unity. Maybe they are. Maybe I just haven't heard it.
Right.
But, just like when I hear this issue, I think about my mother's situation and that I was not supposed to live through the pregnancy. Right. And then I think of that kid with Down syndrome and that parent that says, man, I couldn't imagine not having this child. Not saying that there hasn't been struggles, that it hasn't been financially difficult, that it completely changed their life, that maybe they didn't become what they were going to become because of it. I'm not thinking, even the teenager that had the baby, and maybe they didn't become the physician they were going to be, and instead they became a single parent mom, whatever. But, I mean, to go back and say, I would have got rid of it. Have you ever looked at a child? Tell me how you feel about the children that you look at and go, you know what, I should have aborted you.
Ooh.
How do you feel about that kid that had to hear a parent saying that? Because somewhere in America right now, there's a jackass of a parent looking at a kid and says, you know what, I should have aborted you. Yeah,
and I think I think that is one of the talking points of the other side, right? Is bringing a child into a world where they're going to be so unwanted that they're going to be used, abused, mistreated, and that's what their life is going to be. Right. I think that
some of them make the best parents, though, right?
Exactly. I mean,
you weren't treated very well by half of your.
Yeah, my mother treated me fantastic.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love your mom, by the way.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. But that's the other end of that debate, though, right? Like, is some of those people overcome, and some don't, right? And there's really no way of knowing.
There's no constant,
and that's why I think that there is a gray area here. There's no. I can't judge somebody and get mad at somebody for making a decision because I understand. Agree or not, I understand. And it's not my place to agree. It's not my decision. I'm not going to have to live with that decision either way. If I can't tell, and that was the problem that I have had going back to, years ago. One of the issues I did have for all the pro-life people, the issue I had with them sometimes was, if you're going to be that adamant about what this person can and cannot do, are you willing to step up and pay for the baby? Then
I think a lot of them were, though.
There's a lot.
A lot of them were. I think you hear that a lot. You hear them say, there's.
Then why do we have so many millions of kids in the foster industry that aren't adopted yet?
Because they're not little white babies. So they're not young enough. They're not white enough.
But that's where the hypocrisy comes into play.
Look, we all know. Look, the facts are people are biased. People are prejudiced. There are a lot of that, but. Unfortunately, some kids, they get too old, or they come from the wrong side of the tracks, or the medical things are this, or look, I don't know. There's just not enough parents that are willing to bring in someone else's child into their home. But don't you think that's also something that we can all learn from? We don't even get educated in that process until you're actually actively seeking it. Yeah. But imagine being educated in that process early on, Trinity, that an option for you as a parent. Imagine if you're a new parent. And you know how you get advertised too, like if you get a traffic ticket, all of a sudden you get all these things in the mail.
Yeah.
Right. So can you imagine, like, as soon as you apply for a marital license, all of a sudden in the mail you get all these advertisements and educational material about adoption?
Sure.
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Just to know that it's an option from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just so you know there's an option here. If you guys do not want to go through the entire birthing process and you don't want to, you don't get maternity leave in your job, or maybe one of the options there's ready-made infants. There's ready-made babies already ready to go.
Just add water.
Just add water. It's just turnkey.
Yeah. I don't think enough people are. I don't think that's pushed enough. Right. Because I still to this day don't know much about it. I mean, I know what I've seen on TV and different documentaries and whatnot, but the process as a whole, but those kids are struggling too. A lot of them, man, and they need a home. They want to feel loved.
It's unfortunate though, man, because the biasness in the world really is like that, right? We want something pretty, nice, pretty, and shiny, and I like that we're honest about it.
Yeah.
That it made me, like Richard says, wow. Well, because Richard, it's true. I guarantee you, there are more black babies available and adopted outside of the United States than a black baby in the United States.
Of course.
Like these Hollywood people didn't adopt a black baby in the United States.
No, they didn't go to Compton and pick up one.
Yeah. The reality is this. If you're a very rich white person and you're a Hollywood person and you're like Madonna or whatever, they didn't adopt a little black baby from Compton. They adopted an African white baby.
Right.
There's reasons for that. So it's a status symbol to adopt. If you adopt a black child, that's like a status symbol, but you're not adopting it from a neighborhood here. So that person that adopted that black baby, to me, out of Africa, is more biased than the regular biased person because they didn't adopt one from here.
He's saying that the adoption system costs 40 to 50 grand. There's a lot of red tape involved. It's
What's the wrong about, though?
I don't know.
Who said it was free?
Yeah,
what are we wrong about?
And not only that, but artificial inception costs money. Pregnancy costs money.
All of it costs money.
Yeah, everything. No matter what you do in the world, costs money.
Yeah.
But I don't know his particular stance.
And you can get paid to be a foster parent.
You can. Yeah.
So and you should foster before adopting anyway.
Yeah, I would
if
agree.
you can.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's an option. What's the wrong about though?
I don't know. He says you need to look into the adoption process.
Why? I'm not an expert in adoption.
Yeah, nor am I.
Yeah, you got to call them.
But regardless,
we just said it's an option.
It is an option.
And we talked about fathers' rights early on in the show.
We did. But no, I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, what we have to keep in mind, man, is just this. It's not a cut as much as we would love for it to be. This black and white, cut and simple.
Right. It's not
black and white issue. It's really not, man.
Right.
And I think that we're all doing ourselves and everybody else an injustice by treating it like a black and white issue when it's not.
I 100% agree on that.
You know, I think that you're completely devaluing the very real stories of pain and struggle and sacrifice and everything else by doing that.
Right.
And you're also devaluing, genuinely supportive, loving, caring people when you do that as well.
Right.
And I think that's a I think that's a detriment, man. I really do.
Right.
I think that's once again, another area in society at the moment where we need to, pump the brakes, slow down for a minute, and use a little bit of compassion, man. Like, I think
a lot of compassion, not a little bit of compassion, Trinity. A lot of because fear is real.
Yeah,
I mean, you can be in a relationship, Trinity, and fear what is this baby going to do to our relationship.
Sure.
So can you imagine someone who's in an unwanted situation?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing though is nobody really knows, man. Like that's the problem. There's no like right or wrong answer.
Right.
And if you think there is a right or wrong answer, grow up.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but if you're one of the ones that are out there who thinks that this is just a simple right or wrong answer, you're the problem.
Yeah.
Grow
you
up.
are the
Stop.
problem.
Like you are the problem.
No.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You're the one, not men.
Yeah.
They said men shouldn't be taught. No. If you're male or female and you think that this problem is just a simple yay or nay, stop talking.
Yeah.
Your opinion is not needed. Go somewhere else and let the grown-ups talk. Because well, I'm just being honest.
I like that though. And I'm a man and I have an opinion. Damn it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But I think that
amen.
It's such a complicated.
I got to do both.
There you go.
Balance. Remember.
It's such a complicated concept, man. It's such a complicated decision. There's no easy way answer or easy way out. I should say.
Right.
And I think that there's never going to be any resolution on this.
Right.
If we don't kind of come to the table and listen. And that's why it's been over 20 years and we're still having the debates and they're still trying to overturn it because both sides have just drawn lines in the sand and they're not willing to move across it.
Yeah.
And there's very few things in life that we do that to. Almost everything is negotiable. Almost everything there's a compromise. But in this particular one, both sides are just like, no, here's the line, we're not crossing.
And if you're going to use medical as a reason, just understand that medicine advances. And now that we know so much more about medicine, trust me, it's going to work against some of you hardliners. Yeah. Because now with the proof of medicine, we got that imaging. Yeah. That's what this heartbeat bill is also about and stuff like that. So anyway, just listen to the other side. I'm going to turn my microphone off. Trinity, take it away from here. You got about 5 minutes left, my brother.
Oh yeah, we got the tips. I see. That's why I did.
Well, you got a little bit more than the tips. You got 5 minutes, Trinity. So, but just go where you want to go from it. Making sure you covered everything you wanted to say today.
Yeah, I think, like I said, my main takeaway that I want people to have, this is a controversial subject. There's going to be a lot of opinions. Once again, I think that if you are simplifying this to just a right or wrong kind of a thing, you're missing the point. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to have an opinion on something until you're in the middle of it, right? And as far as the morality and things of that nature, we have to understand that not everybody feels the same way we all do. That's one of the things that makes this country such a great place to live, is we're all allowed to have our own perspectives and our own kind of way of doing things, as long as it doesn't infringe on somebody else, I guess. And that's a beautiful thing, right? It's all fun and games to try to control somebody else's decision making or thought process, as long as you're on the winning team. When you're on the winning team, I had this conversation with somebody I know who identifies as homosexual, and they were basically saying everybody in the Midwest that they know, that mentality, and I'm not saying everybody in the Midwest feels this way, but that was their words to me. They kind of just need to get over it. The times are coming, you got to accept us. And I said, that's a really bad way of looking at things. You're not trying to talk to these people. You're not trying to converse with them. You're not trying to help them understand. You're just trying to drag them along, and then you wonder why they vote against your interest. I said, because what you're trying to do right now, you seem to be in the majority, where a lot of people are kind of siding with you, I guess, publicly. But there were years where they sided against you. And it wasn't so fun when they were telling you can't do what you want to do and get over it. So you probably shouldn't do it to them. Because history has this weird way of repeating itself. What's cool now might not be cool later on. And so the wins that you're having right now, enjoy them, but they might not be there forever. So how you win is important, because it's also going to determine how you lose later on. And make no mistake, it will come back around. And so to getting to my tips, I guess, to lead into that, when it comes to this particular issue, no matter where you're at in that issue, whether you're for it, whether you're against it, whether you just don't know, whether you're the person who's thinking about having it, somebody, you're the doctor, whomever it is, whatever your role in this particular debate or issue is, the 3 tips that I'm going to have for you is universal. The first one is, you have to understand that everybody, every philosophy, every tradition, every person, they have their own opinion on what is or isn't life and what is or isn't killing. You have to understand that and respect that. Which means number 2 for the tips is, you have to listen. There's that freaking L word again. You have to listen. And listening doesn't mean, you don't listen to argue, and you don't listen to criticize or judge or correct. You listen to understand. 2 completely different things. As my friend here likes to say, don't be on pause, be on record. In other words, don't stop talking just to wait for your turn to talk again. Listen. Try to really truly understand that person's plight in their decision making. It's going to get you a lot further in the discussion, whether you're just trying to support or you're trying to sway. And then the third tip is no matter what happens, always remember to be compassionate and non-judgmental. And try not to tell other people how to live their lives. Once again, it sounds great when you feel vindicated, but remember, the other person might feel vindicated as well. And nobody likes to be felt like they're being judged or non-compassionate. Because remember, no matter what you do in your life, there's going to be something in your life that somebody else is going to have a judgment against, and you're going to want them to have compassion towards you. You need to show it towards them as well. I think that's all I got, man. It was a heavy topic today. For those of you who listened all the way through, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If we offended you, sorry, it wasn't the intent. But I do hope that everybody got some sort of value out of this today. And drop a note and let me know what you think. I think that's all we got, man. So now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.